Welcome to U-Turn Radio. Here at U-Turn Radio, we believe in big-hearted communities and small government. Join your hosts, Nadia Renner, Tom Murphy, and Eric Steinman, as we work to put local governments on a diet and champion the charities that support your community. So come on, join us and let's turn it around.
Welcome to U-Turn Radio. Happy Sunday. I hope you guys had great holidays. Last weekend we had a great show. It was a Thanksgiving show or weekend. Ate a whole lot, and we are back here on another Sunday. Today we're switching gears up a little bit. Usually on a good day we have Tom in studio and we have Eric in studio. On a different day we have Eric on the phone, but Tom's always next to me. Today Tom is not here, and we're doing a takeover. We have Doreen in studio. Doreen's always here, but not in front of the camera. She's usually behind the camera. Yes. Today she's in front of the camera and in front of the mic, live and direct. Yes. From U-Turn Radio. Yes. How are you? Welcome. I feel like it's so silly for me to say welcome because it's like you're always here.
No, that's true. But
welcome in front of the camera.
I do feel welcomed now in front of the camera. I appreciate it. You think I can pass for Tom today? Just a little bit. You know, it's my twin.
Okay. Okay, Doreen. If you want to pass by Tom, do what you like. We're taking over today, so we're doing whatever we like. I think Eric might join us via telephone.
Okay,
but,
sounds good.
Tom is sick, so Tom, we hope you get well soon. And this rule is like a show rule. It's like the show must go on, regardless of whatever happens.
Correct.
So, but I hope you feel better, Tom. So that's why we bring Doreen in front of the lens.
Yes.
In front of the camera.
Thanks for having me. Well, in front for having me.
Yeah, right? Doesn't it sound weird because it's like you're always here. It's just
a little.
So we're going to be interviewing you. We're going to be talking about how you got into U-Turn, how you got into what you think about U-Turn, and all of that good stuff. But before we get started, for the people that are just tuning in for the first time, Doreen, what do we believe here at U-Turn Radio? Since you started working and you know this, what is it?
Big-hearted communities and small government.
That's what we believe in. So, like I said, today the title of the show is Behind the Lens, a perspective on voter engagement among the young generation with Doreen, U-Turn Radio's visual media producer. And like I said, she's usually behind the camera. Today she's in front. Last week we had a great show. Last week we concentrated on the big-hearted community part of what U-Turn believes, and that was we covered all the different charities that have called in. If this is your first time listening to U-Turn Radio, we usually concentrate as far as the big-hearted community for charities to call in and let us know what they're doing. As far as like here in the Inland Empire. And we had a few that have called in, or a few listeners as well that call in and talk about their favorite charity. And it's amazing to learn, and even talking about it last weekend about the different charities and what they do to have a better community is amazing. We also got the opportunity to go and visit Santa Claus Inc.
Yes.
And that was really impactful, and it was really, it was one of, I have a few favorite interviews, but that one was really impactful. I really like what they're doing over there. We interviewed Karen DiCarlo from Santa Claus Inc. And you can listen to all these radio or past shows on uturnradio.com. Also, if you want to call and let us know about your charity, or if you work for one, please call us 909-792-5222. That's 909-792-5222. So let's get into this show, since we have Doreen in. Let's talk a little bit, Doreen, about yourself. Where were you born? Were you raised here in the Inland Empire?
Actually, no. I'm from Pasadena, California, born and raised, and I didn't get to the Inland Empire until maybe high school, actually middle school. It was middle school. So it was a bit of a culture shock, actually, going from like the Pasadena area to here. But yeah, I've been here for long enough that I consider myself an Inland Empire native at this point.
That's nice. Yeah. How was it growing up in Pasadena? What was the difference? What was the biggest, I guess, culture shock for you coming from Pasadena to the IE?
I mean, to speak frankly, I think the culture shock was just not seeing as many Black people in the community. Like when I got to the Inland Empire, there was maybe one other Black family on the block, and not very many like other people of color, and especially in my school. And so it was actually just a little bit different to see like a lack of maybe diversity in the community in Rancho as opposed to in Pasadena. Yeah. So, but it wasn't bad. I mean, it was different. And it was just something to get used to, but something that I'm really grateful for, like having the opportunity to get to know and really be a part of the Inland Empire.
Did you go to school? Like, did you go to college out here too, or
Nope.
did you?
Nope, I went to school in the Bay
So you were
Area.
like a little bit here, and then you came from Pasadena. You were here a little bit, and then you're like, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm a California girl through and through. So Pasadena, California, and then the Inland Empire. And then I went to school in the Bay Area, and so yeah, I'm California like all the way through, like from college to birth, I guess.
When you went to school, did you go to school for film? Because obviously you do film here. You take care of all of our camera work and stuff like that. So is that which one? That's what you went to school for?
So I went to Cal State East Bay. Shout out to Cal State East Bay. And I graduated with my bachelor's in communications and media production. So I did a little bit of everything, a little graphic work, a little video work, a little in front of the camera and behind the camera. It was very like an extensive, comprehensive program. So I'm definitely working within my range, working here at U-Turn Radio, because I do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I definitely think that here you almost have to do a little bit of everything to like make it work. And then that kind of goes with anything now. I feel like for like our generation, it's like the more you know, the better it is to really develop in your craft and to also offer different things to the table when you're applying for a job.
Correct. Yeah.
So what so this is not your first job in the industry?
No.
Let's talk about that. What was your first, after you graduated school, what was your first, or even internship?
My first internship was actually with BuzzFeed Motion Pictures. So I was a video production intern for them, and I got to create short videos, sort of run and gun. It's kind of a crazy internship because you're doing literally everything. Like I'm picking up equipment and I'm like editing things and I'm running around and grabbing props for everyone. So actually, I think it prepared me a lot for what I do here because it sounds very, very similar. But that was my first internship, and I was really grateful to have that because I got to learn so many different things on the job. So I was really blessed with that first opportunity. And
then from there, what was your first paying gig?
My first paying gig, actually the internship was paid, so
nice.
That was really fun.
Okay, honestly, that's a first that I've ever heard because I did a few internships myself, and I was like, how do the other people get paid internships?
Really?
So
yeah.
That's like so good because usually internships, as some of us know, they don't pay for nothing.
Yeah.
Like it's just literally you're just there to learn.
That was not my experience, and I'm thankful for it.
Did they pay you good?
They did pay pretty well for an intern. They did. And I went from an intern to a fellow. So that was actually probably my first like paying job
cool.
As a fellow there. And then I started working for a very small production company doing video work for them, Kaleidoscope Networks. And from there, I've been doing freelance work for friends and now for U-Turn, just various smaller companies and doing whatever I can, to help. How did you come across U-Turn? How did you find the, hey, I can't remember what was the post, but where'd you find the information that U-Turn was looking for somebody? Indeed.com. So I applied, actually, Nadia, for your position. Hey! Yes. So I applied to be in front of the camera, and actually I'm very grateful now that things aligned so that I could get this job as opposed to your job. This is harder than it looks, so shout out to you.
Thank you. But you know what? This is so good that you say this because I feel like we've all at some point have gone for a position. And I think that when you interview for positions, it could be anything. Like I think that's where, and I don't know how your interview went because it was pretty good. I wasn't hired, and I'll ask you about that. But this is going to lead to the question that I'm going to ask, because when you interview, like you said, you interviewed for my position, which was to host the show. But I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, you talked about what you went to school for and like the behind the scenes, like doing the film stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important to mention when you do interview for certain positions, because you just never know what might happen when you get that call back. And it might not be for the position that you interviewed for, but it's right down the alley of what you know. So let's talk a little bit about that. So you came for my position.
I did. I tried it. But no, you make a really good point about, you know, making sure that you let people know what it is that you can do and what you can provide service-wise to a business, because you never know how you can be an asset, like, in other ways, even though you applied to something different. So that's exactly what happened. I applied for, like, a hosting position and ended up with a video, which is much more, like, in my alley and much more in my comfort level, but still outside of it enough that I could learn things and grow, I think, as a visual media producer. So that's how U-Turn came about for me. I think I came on around like episode 7, just sort of watching and recording for a while. And, you know, from there we went from like 1 camera to 2 cameras to sound equipment, you know, like it's really great to see the evolution of U-Turn Radio. I'm like really excited about where this could go and the political awareness and involvement that it encourages in people.
Right. However, like you said, like you mentioned, you came in 7 show in. So by then we're already like rolling with, you know, the different topics that we cover here at U-Turn Radio, which is mainly local politics, and we bring up different issues that are not discussed, and we just really, and we also interview different people in the community to like talk about these different issues that we cover here at U-Turn. But what was your first impression coming in 7th show? Off the top of my head, I think it was Jeff, Mayor of Calamasa, Jeff Hewitt, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was that or you probably sat in that. I think that's when I met you. What was your first impression when you sat in that show?
I was really nervous, actually. So I wouldn't consider myself like particularly politically savvy. So I already felt maybe slightly out of my depth in like what I could add on that side. And I was worried about whether or not, I guess, my perspective or, whether or not my perspective would really be represented in a show like this. I'm like, okay, we have like 2 older, you know, male hosts and like 1 younger host, a woman of color, and I'm not sure what exactly they're going to talk about. They said they're going to keep it local, but like, you know, it's always a bit of discomfort around not knowing, I guess, and I wasn't exactly sure what we were going to be covering, but I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot since I've been here. So it's been good. It's been good since show 7 and now.
You know, this is really good, because usually that happens when you start like a new job and you're like, oh my God, these are gonna be the people that I'm gonna be spending my time with. This is who I have to communicate with. And it's funny, like first impression says a lot. But like, for example, even when I started, I was never really into politics. I mean, unless I watched the news and that type of stuff, but I never really took a lot of time to go in and do like self-education and get involved to like the level that I now get myself involved in. So it's funny, but it's like usually what happens at certain jobs, and then when you just keep doing it and then you understand like, oh my God, I feel like this has been an eye-opener for myself, like as far as like I didn't know half of these things were happening. Same. So when you came in, as far as like then the development of U-Turn with us, did you find at some point like, oh my God, I wasn't aware, or like what was that one show maybe that opened up your eyes where you were like, oh wow, like this, I didn't even see this as a issue maybe?
Yeah, you know, one of the ones that really struck a chord with me was our big pharmacy episode. So I think that was like needless harm with big pharmacy, sort of creating unfair like prices, and you can get your prescription drugs for much cheaper somewhere in like Canada or Mexico as opposed to here, and it's not just like a little bit more, it's like triple the amount. And so I think that one really struck a chord with me just because of like my personal background. Like I have an elderly grandmother and I have, a mom who's on Medicare, and, so just thinking about how much seems out of our control by way of money, like how much is being taken from us and we don't even know sometimes. So I remember that one specifically. And then I'm all about the community efforts like you. So a lot of the shows were just me finding out about really cool charities around in my area that I never knew about.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really cool, because that has definitely been something for me as well. But speaking of relating U-turn topics and goals, how would you describe yourself politically, or your relationship in politics in general?
Yeah, so I guess before I got here, I probably would have, checked the same boxes that my parents check, like Democrat, liberal. But I think being here has made me think about conservative government a little bit differently, and like small government especially a lot differently. And so being someone who didn't really grow up with politics in the home, so like my grandmother and my mom, like we didn't talk about politics. Actually, I think it was one of her rules, like things we don't talk about so that there are no fights at Thanksgiving.
Oh, really?
One of them being politics.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting because I found out while doing research for this show that she worked for LA County Registrar for voting all my life.
No way.
All my life she worked there. So anyone who wanted to run for a county or state position had to go into her office to file the paperwork.
That is insane. And the fact that it was never brought up in your home, and the fact that it just got brought up after doing research for today's show.
Right. Yeah. No, it was really interesting. I'm like, grandmother, how come we never, talked about these things? And I think she had... she got so much information, and not all of it was good information, that she wanted to shield me, I guess, from some of the dirtier ends of politics, some of the more negative aspects of politics. And so it was just something that we didn't really talk about. She made sure that, like, if I was going to come to any conclusions, they would have to be, like, on my own and like, through research. So
do you think that at some point her, like, the fact that she knew this stuff and trying, like you said, shield you from some of the, I guess, maybe negative part of politics, do you think that helped you, or how do you feel about that?
I mean, on one hand, it's like, why didn't you ever tell me?
Right.
But then on the other hand, it's like, she really taught me, what she did teach me was like research, learning how to like really go out for myself and, trust my own instincts and figure out what fake news is versus, like real news. She was telling me about fake news before fake news was fake news. So I'm really grateful to her for that. But it is interesting now, as an adult, to find out just how much she was involved with politics and with elections. Yeah,
that's crazy to me. Like, and the fact that you just found that out. Let's go back now to the show that you just mentioned with Dr. Steinman, and how we went over. And like I said, you can check out these past shows on uturnradio.com. That one's a really good one, especially if you work like in the medical industry, or even if you don't, but you deal a lot with, like, for example, doctors or things like that, where you're consistently getting prescribed medication. That was, like you said, it was mind-blowing to learn how much you can probably get this medicine for, and how much they're really charging here in the United States, which brings up, I mean, I know a lot of my friends and their parents go to Mexico to do their doctor checkups, to get medication, but I never really understood why up until I was like, oh wait, they like, first when we heard that show, when they were talking about prices, but mainly, I mean, the cost is just insane.
Right. And the government isn't really doing anything to absolve that cost at all. Like, I think even, in fact, they said that, I think Eric mentioned that they kind of took themselves out of the equation. Like, they're not allowed to negotiate. So it always just sort of stays at like triple the amount, as opposed to somewhere closer to where Mexico and Canada are paying for them.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned about your grandmother, so, and your mother, how does that, like, from learning that piece of information and knowing what is happening in your household, how much medication, they rely on medication.
They do.
How did that make you feel?
Almost helpless. Yeah. And I think that's a very large reason why it's easy to turn a blind eye to politics, and just not get as involved, because if you know the problems, and it's almost like an ignorance is bliss sort of situation. If you close your eyes to it, maybe you won't be like quite as affected, but that's certainly not true. We all, like being a part of this show, we know just how much future generations and, you know, our parents and their pensions and, you know, just retirement and medication, how much all of that is really affecting us, how it's affecting us now. So closing your eyes to it is not gonna help.
Right.
But it did make me feel a little bit helpless. Like, what exactly am I supposed to do, you know, as an agent, as, you know, someone politically informed, to go out there and like make some sort of change, or, you know, let other people know so that some sort of change can be made. But I think that U-Turn has done a really good job of equipping me with certain tools, I guess, to better be able to fight those fights, or at least have those conversations.
Right, which brings me from that show, one thing that I took was like, well, how do you make these type of changes and these type of things? And usually it's to go out and vote. And especially with the midterm voting, like that, I didn't understand how important that was, because I almost felt like learning the midterm votes, that's going to probably hurt you a little bit more than like the main elections, because now we're talking about mayors within the city that you live in. You're talking about businesses where you consistently purchase from, and all of that has like a dominoes effect. Also, like if you want to build something within the city, we had the building department show. Like I said, we've covered a lot of good topics here on U-Turn, and we learned how difficult it might be to get like a permit. So I feel like I started learning so many different things, but all of these things as citizens, one of the main things that we can do is really get involved, and it's voting, and it's like like we've been talking about, educating yourself to do these type of things. So how was your, like, did you start voting as soon as you were 18?
You know what, I think I did, but I only did the bigger elections. I don't,
like for the president.
Yeah, like I would go and vote for the president and for larger like issues, but not midterm elections. Like I would barely even read that ballot, to be honest. And you know, thinking back on it, it felt a little overwhelming to have to like read all this material and get caught up, you know, just in the fake news,
like hashtag fake news,
right? And get caught up just in time. But I did vote in this midterm election, and I felt like a lot better equipped this time than I ever have like in the past, voting wise, for sure.
Did your mom go out and vote? Like did they do that? Is it something that they were doing but not telling you about?
Yeah. My mom and my grandmother vote in every election, pretty much. But because of my grandmother's job, she never actually had to go to a polling place because she was right there. So
'cause she's an employee.
Yeah, so she would like do it from her desk and then like just go put it in the ballot, and like that would be it. Like she never had to go through the rigmarole of like.
So it was even like much easier for her, because I feel like at this point now it's easier to vote. Like if you're busy, some jobs usually give you like a 2-hour paid for to go out and vote and that type of stuff.
They're obligated to, I think. You know, make sure that you have the ability to go out and vote. Which
is so interesting, because in my household, my parents migrated here. So even like when I was 18, I came here when I was 2 years old. So when I was 8, I couldn't vote. Like, so I didn't. And it's funny because my dad actually does come from politics from back home.
Oh, wow.
And that was like such an open topic at my house.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like where, like you said, it's almost better not to bring it up, because there would be a lot of like arguments. I'm like, oh, here goes my dad again talking about politics. Like, geez. And even with my friends, I'll be like, dude, if you can meet my dad, just don't talk about politics. We're gonna have a great time. Like, that was like a rule. Like, because my dad's so passionate about it, and I don't know if growing up, if that was just kind of like, let me stay away because I see like the arguments. I see how passionate. A small background, my dad fought in a war in Nicaragua and lost his brother. Oh, so that's why he's even more passionate about it. And his father was involved with the government and the states that's when United States got involved in with Nicaragua and that civil war and that type of stuff. So it was something that was already like talked about in my family.
Yeah.
But so then when they come to the United States, they can't vote because they're immigrants. I come when I was 2. I was born in Costa Rica. I came when I was 2. I couldn't vote. But I understood that it was something important because I saw it talked about so much. And I understood that, you know, like my voice counted and that type of stuff. So as soon as I became a citizen, I didn't vote the first time. And it was when Obama was running for president. Oh, wow. And so that's when I was able to vote for the first time, but I didn't because I was just like, oh my God, like it was just so overwhelming. Like when I got to see that information and I was just like, okay, like now and it was more of like one of those things where it's like, now I have the power to do it. Like my parents brought me here to have a better future. So it was almost one of those things where it's like, as soon as I start understanding this, like I want to be part of, because I know that I'm here for a particular reason. Like my parents brought me here to succeed. And as soon as I got that power, I want to say, because it's a power to vote in I guess our family, because it's like we weren't able to. We weren't like, you know, so I think like that alone is something that then when when elections came again, I was like, I definitely need to vote. And I started doing like all my like research, but it's something that schools don't teach you either. High school doesn't talk about it. I don't think I ever went to college and anybody talked about it either. It's really how they tell you at home.
Yeah, you know, it is how they tell you at home. I think mine was a little bit reversed, though. When I went to college is when I started becoming a lot more politically aware. But it was definitely about hot-button issues. It was about, like, police brutality. It was about immigration. It was about DACA, things like that. So they were like, or LGBTQ rights and reproduction rights and just equality amongst men and women and the pay gap, all of that. So I learned a lot about those things in college, and actually I was involved a lot because of the sorority that I joined, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Ooh, whoop.
I was just gonna say, you gotta rep them.
Yes, have to. Through them, I was able to do things like voter registration, just like having a bunch of students come in and register to vote, you know?
That's so funny. That almost like plays out kind of like your grandma story without you knowing, because you're now getting involved. You're now asking students to get involved. And at some point, I'm sure that your grandma working and doing that type of stuff, it's almost like the same without you knowing until this show. Like, that's crazy. Just to throw it out there.
I mean, it's interesting because I knew that it was important to vote. We just never talked about politics, so I never knew like how necessarily to vote. Like she wouldn't say like, yeah, so just go in there and mark all the Democrat boxes. You know, she was like, you better read this and know what you're looking at before you go vote. That was always her thing, but it was never like a very large topic of discussion. When I went to college, it was a lot of things, you know, to talk about. When I was in college, actually was around the time that like Philando Castile, Mike Brown, like a lot of the police brutality murders were going on. So there were a lot of discussions, and like I led a lot of town hall meetings. I got the opportunity to go protest.
What made you get involved like that? Like, is it when it's something close to home? Is it like, what is that passion? Because I know, like I explained, like for me, I was like, man, there's power in voting. I wasn't able to do it, so I want to do it. My parents came for me to have a better future. So I was so passionate just about the whole voting part in general. For you, you know, being in school and you're saying like, my upbringing, I wasn't really taught politics, but once I got to college, the different issues that were happening, now you're getting involved. So different, because I mean, when you go protest, that's close to home. I feel like if you're protesting something, it's something in your heart that's like, I need to make a difference. I need my voice to be heard. What was that for you like?
I think being a part of a community of women who, it was one of their principles. It was a guiding principle, political awareness and involvement for Delta. So number one, being a part of a unit of women who like prioritized that, it helped me to like get involved. But also, yes, I think that politics are personal. And so they're always personal, but the things that hit closer to home are the things that, you know, truly affect whether you live or die. And so it felt like life or death in some of those situations, and affecting laws and figuring out legislation. So whereas voting itself wasn't always my main priority, I guess being informed and making sure that people around me were informed was a priority, and especially with me being a part of, that chapter and that sorority. So
cool. I didn't realize that we had to go to break like 5 minutes ago. But we're gonna cut to break. When we come back, we're gonna talk about millennials and like the voting part of what they do, or why they don't vote.
Yeah.
And that's why I bring that question up to you was, is it something that we get involved until it's close to home?
Mm-hmm.
When we come back, more here on U-Turn Radio.
We'll be right back to U-Turn after this commercial break. Don't go away.
The Humane Society of San Bernardino Valley, protecting animals for more than 4 decades. The Humane Society's mission is to prevent cruelty and neglect to animals and to provide for the health and well-being of animals with an emphasis on spay or neuter programs to prevent pet overpopulation. Visit the Humane Society of San Bernardino Valley for your pet's medical needs, 909-386-1400, or visit hssbv.org. The Humane Society of San Bernardino Valley, a leading nonprofit organization in caring for all animals in need. The House of Ruth has been providing life-saving domestic violence services since 1977. Participation in House of Ruth programming is open to all battered women, men, and children. Domestic violence is a public health issue. 1 in 4 women are abused by their partner, and it's 1 in 7 for men. Even 1 in 3 teens are exposed to dating violence in their relationships. If you or someone you know needs help or support, House of Ruth can help. Call the House of Ruth 24-hour crisis hotline, 877-988-5559, or visit their website, houseofruthinc.org.
How would you feel if you had to make a choice between buying food or spending your fixed income on life-saving medicine? No one should make that trade-off, but many low-income seniors are forced into difficult decisions like this every day. Smiles for Seniors Foundation provides energy assistance and safety net services to struggling low-income seniors in the Inland Empire. They provide one-time assistance to seniors to meet specific financial needs. They've helped with food, housing, utility payments, minor home and auto repairs, along with life-saving prescriptions or medical equipment. A nonprofit foundation funded entirely by donations from local organizations. Smiles for Seniors receives no funding from the state or federal government. They are funded by local businesses and individuals like you with big hearts and willing wallets. You can find more information or to donate to Smile for Seniors at 909-790-6671. That's 909-790-6671, or visit smilesforseniorsfoundation.org. That's smilesforseniorsfoundation.org.
For more U-Turn Radio, go visit our website at uturnradio.com. That's uturnradio.com. And follow us on Instagram and Twitter at uturn_radio. That's at uturn_radio. Or follow us on Facebook at U-Turn Radio.
Tom, Nadia, and Eric are back with more only on the U-Turn Radio Show right here on KCAA.
Welcome back to U-Turn Radio.
Hey, welcome back. So before the show, we have Doreen today.
Yes.
On the air live. Doreen is usually behind the camera, but we're doing a U-Turn takeover. Tom is out, so Doreen's in live and direct. So we're gonna and we were pretty much talking about like how we got involved with U-Turn, how involved you were with politics before, and the difference now that you are on U-Turn. So right before the commercial break, we were talking about how involved you were when you were in school, and that's kind of like when you became more aware, or not aware, but more involved in politics. And it was mainly because of things that were happening, issues that were happening, that you started getting more involved. You went and you were protesting, and that's when I feel like when you start protesting, when you start getting more involved, is because it's either something close to home or you believe so much in something that you want to create that change.
Yeah.
So, and you mentioned that it was topics that were happening that made you do these type of things. And like I mentioned, for me, it was something that I saw, like I felt power for. So then I got myself involved little by little, and then I came with U-Turn and kind of like learned more of that.
Right.
But let's talk about, because I feel like a lot of my friends, and let's talk about like the younger generation, millennials, like they don't really go out and vote as much or get involved as much. And it's one of those things that I ask myself, is it that we have to, does something have to happen to us to like be involved? Like, why can't we just act on and like be part of without saying, oh, because of this experience, rather than saying, hey, you know what, like, this is going to be my future and I want to set up my future. Just like when we go to school, how we prep for like our life and like go to school and do internships and that type of stuff that we talked about. Like, why don't we do the same thing with politics? Granted, it's like you said, sometimes there's a really ugly side to politics as we keep learning and seeing. And your grandmother almost prevented that for you to see that. But what is your, what do you think about like millennials and getting involved in the voting in politics from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I would note is that when I was in college, I had the time to think about politics and to think about issues a little bit better than I do maybe now being out of college. So it was a space where, you know, everybody was researching and everybody was going out and getting out in the community. And so it was easier because I didn't have other obligations on my plate. It wasn't like I was working, except for in school, you know. And so I think that part of it is that is accessibility, you know, to information. And then another part of it is just having the ability and the time to really devote, because it does take time, you know, like we didn't just walk into U-Turn, you know, having all of this knowledge and all of this information. It took some time for us to sort of learn and do some research before we felt even comfortable enough being like, yep, I know exactly what I'm going to vote for and how this is going to go. So I think with millennials especially, and with, you know, with my age generation, I think sometimes we overlook the part about, you know, like if it's a matter of making sure that I eat tonight or reading this ballot, I'm going to make sure that I eat.
Right.
You know?
In other words, priorities start changing.
Yep.
According to lifestyle.
Certainly.
Before we keep going on our interview and how the younger generation's involved or not involved into politics, let's go to the phone. We have a phone call. Welcome to U-Turn.
How you doing? This is Coach Carlos Pelomino from Cops for Kids and Communities. Nice to be on your show.
Hi, Carlos. Thank you. Welcome to U-Turn Radio. So you're calling from Cops for Kids boxing program, you said?
It's Cops for Kids and Communities boxing program. We have several, how would you say, things in our program, from boxing to taekwondo to different, we have a school, we have vocational schools, we have a scholarship program. We have different areas in our show. I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous.
Oh, it's okay. It happens to the best of us.
Yeah, me too, Carlos.
Serena was probably really nervous, but you're okay. So tell us a little bit about Cops for Kids. Like, how did the organization start?
Well, actually, my organization started about 5 or 6 years ago. The original organization started in San Jacinto or Hammett, where they brought cops, kids out of the community into, try to get them off the street, give them something to do. But my program, what I wanted to do was get officers and kids working together, because as you know, most of the time when a child sees a officer, either they're in trouble or their parents are in trouble, and I wanted to bridge that gap where the officers can meet the kids on a neutral level, So what I do is I bring police officers, correction officers, firemen in, and I have them work out with the kids at the gym. And most of our kids that we have are, they're either low income or they're in a bad neighborhood. So we're just giving them opportunities to be in a safe location after school, having something to do, and building that relationship with police officers and correction officers. And hopefully one of these days they'll grow up to be a officer or a police officer or a correction officer.
I think that's something like so good and just different that I've never heard before, but it's true. Usually when you come across a cop, usually it's not for a positive experience. Yeah. And I think that building these type of relationships from a younger from kids and playing and doing a sport where it's still competitive, but where you can create that relationship is really cool.
Yeah, I think it's very important that the relationship between kids and even adults, just that bringing down fear levels, you know, so that you're not so afraid and you know who you can go to in a time of crisis. I think that's a really great cause.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Has any of the kids that attended that have gone through your program, have they become officers or are looking into becoming one?
Oh, that's a good
yes,
question.
they do. Actually, I have several, but I have one young especially. Actually, I became his best friend. His best man in his wedding. He grew up in a bad neighborhood. His father had tattooed a city on his forearm. He was young, 13 years old, and he was just going in really bad direction. So we brought him in when he was like 9 years old, and he was still having some issues with his, parents. Finally, he woke up and he became a San Diego County sheriff.
Oh wow!
So that's awesome. Including myself, when I grew up in a bad neighborhood. My boxing coach was Larry Ramirez out of the Fontana Boxing Club, and he really helped me. And he, I'm just trying to pay it forward. So my son is a correction officer, and he was in the gym with me forever. Boxing is on a different level. I'm not saying it's better than any other sport, but what it does, it's a non-prejudice sport. It doesn't care how old you are, what color you are, how big you are, how small you are. You are part of the team. You're not going to sit the bench. You are going to be, somebody's going to recognize you. Just, the gym is like, I call it like cheers. When you come in, everybody knows your name.
Right.
Everybody's glad you came,
Yeah.
So.
I really like that. I'm a big boxing fan, and I love boxing. And boxing, not just that it does all these different things, but it also shows you a different type of discipline that I think no other sports shows you. Just with your opponent, with the way that you're gonna work to put in the work, because this is like a one man kind of sport.
Yeah.
If you want to look good, not look good, but if you want to if you're into the real sport, if you're gonna go and box like in real life, it's a lot of training, it's a lot of dedication, and that comes a lot of discipline. So I really enjoy boxing in general, and to have these kind of come together. Carlos, I think this is really cool. And that story too that you just shared is amazing. So we like we said here on U-Turn, what we like to do is spin for charity, and that's what I'm about to do. Let me turn on my little volume here. And we're going to spin for Cops for Kids boxing program. And you've won $700.
Oh, thank you.
So we'll do, we'll have you stay on the line, and Joe will get your information. Thank you so much for calling in and letting us know about Cops for Kids boxing program. I think that's really cool. Like I said, for kids to start having experiences with cops or officers in a different view. And the story that you shared is really amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Yeah, well, just real quick, if I could play this. The San Jacinto, we have a I don't know if you heard Learn for Life. So we work with kids that had dropped out of school or had issues where they couldn't graduate. They were lacking credits. We also have that for them, so we try to get them up to date and so they can graduate high school and stuff like that. So we have a lot of stuff in San Jacinto also. So just to put that out there, I appreciate that.
That's great. Why don't you share? You have a website that you can share where we can go and see more information since you're on.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, it's Cops for Kids and Community, or c4kc.org.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Carlos. Thank you for sharing what you guys are doing to help out the community.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day. So that was Carlos from Cops for Kids boxing program. Like I said, we're really big on big-hearted communities, and this is what we do. We spin for charity, and he won $700. So
yeah.
We try to do a little bit, and especially when it's the takeover.
Right. Someone said this was better than Vegas. The odds.
Oh yeah, for sure. So here you are on a Sunday. I'm telling you, you guys should really be listening to U-Turn Radio.
Yes, and calling in.
Absolutely. 909-792-5222. That's 909-792-5222. If you want to call in and talk about your charity, we would be more than happy to listen and spin for charity.
Yeah.
So we have another phone call.
Yes.
Calls are just coming in like hotcakes. Welcome to U-Turn. Who is on the line?
Hi, this is Ronnie from Sisters Fighting for a Change.
Hi, Ronnie. How are you?
Well, we are a local nonprofit charity, in the state of California and also Arizona who does youth empowerment.
And it's Sisters Fighting for Change, right?
Yes, Sisters Fighting for a Change. Yes.
So let me just tell our because we're live and direct right now. We met Ronnie when we had Josiah Burney on the show, Music Changing Lives, and you called in and we're talking about when we interviewed Josiah, and you called in and you were talking about Sisters Fighting for a Change. So and that's how we got to meet you and learn about Sisters Fighting for a Change. So tell us a little bit about what you guys do for the people that missed that show.
Oh, okay. So basically, our mission and goal is to educate the youth through collaboration and partnership with the community, and do advocacy services to live their creative dreams. What we do is actually put on events around the city and the community, and it's kind of like a fun-filled family atmosphere every event. Just yesterday, we did host a Rise for Autism Festival here in the state of Arizona, which was a successful event as well. And then coming to California, we will be hosting our first annual Huge Hearts Toy Giveaway in the city of San Bernardino.
Nice.
And that will be at the Starting Five Barbershop on Highland, which is 2348 East Highland Avenue. It's our first event, and we are so excited. We won't have 2 events in both states this year, so we definitely, our goal this season would be 500, to give at least 500 children toys for that. Currently, we are running short of toys, so we're just need more toys so we can meet our goal. So we definitely would like people to possibly come out and donate. We do have a drop-off location currently at the barbershop itself, or we have pickup available as well if needed. But our Facebook is Sisters Fighting for a Change on Facebook, and on Instagram we're just Sisters FFC as well. Or you can hit me directly. I'm Ronnie, one of the team leaders, one of the leaders here, and it's 623-418-6063. We do have volunteers that we will love to be involved as well, or anybody want to get back into the community, with their time. We're always agreeing to have those individuals come participate in anything we have or host there around the cities.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
The fact that you're not just doing it here in the Inland Empire, but also in a different state in Arizona. But like you said, you're inviting us to the toy drive this upcoming December 15th at Starting 5 Barbershop, and that's from 12 to 3, right, Ronnie?
Yes, 12 to 3 p.m. We will be out there putting everything together probably around 9:30. But currently we did partner up with another organization, which is Pivotal Empowerment Movement, which is in Victorville, who also wanted to team up and also help out the community. Partnership is better than anything. We could bring a greater impact to, the community and help out more people. So, we're definitely looking forward. If anybody want to be in, join forces to come out and help us out any type of way, we will really, really appreciate it. As I mentioned, the event right now, I know on our Facebook, is probably at 400 that was even interested or coming out. So our main thing is just want to put smiles. We don't want to leave anybody out, and we will hate that any child walk away without no gift because we ran out of toys.
Absolutely. So, I want to thank you so much for calling in and letting us know and inviting us to go to the toy drive and drop off toys. Yeah. We're definitely here at U-Turn. We're going to put it all over our social medias and put all the information up as well to invite our listeners to come and be part of your toy drive.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your time today, guys.
Thank you so much, and thank you again for calling us back and sharing this information with us to invite us as well. So thank you, Ronnie.
You're welcome. Have a great day, ladies.
Thank you. And I'll definitely go out there and drop off my toy December 15th. I actually already went and bought it.
Did you?
Yeah, I am a big fan of toys. Well, I love toys. I I had a nice collection of toys growing up, so
Really?
I think it's really special, especially during Christmas time, to get involved and give back, and especially for unprivileged kids. So
Yeah.
I definitely I was aware of this one, so I was like, I want to make sure that I do my part and go drop off my toy. December 15th, that's at Starting 5 Barbershop from 12 to 3. The information is going to be on our Instagram, and that's going to be, and you can go to our Instagram at U-Turn _ radio,
Yeah.
where you can find that information.
I love that even if you don't have like toys to donate, you can also just volunteer your time. I'm always about that.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. And here, we'll just share this too, because we've gone and volunteered.
Yes, we have.
We've done a House for Ruth. We did Run for Ruth. We also went to Music Changing Lives.
Yes,
that
we
was
did.
really cool too, because
fun.
we saw the kids perform. And man, I gotta say, there's a lot of kids with a lot of talent. So when I hear about these charities that are doing things and also like to embrace different talent and push them out there, I think it's a beautiful thing.
It is. It really is.
All right, let's get back to the question I had for you before we started
Yes.
talking about the big-hearted communities, millennials and their involvement in politics, and
Yeah.
do they vote or not vote? Why do you think maybe the younger generation is not as involved?
I think it's probably a sense of like disillusionment, a little bit, like feeling like, well, even if I know the problems, there's nothing that I can do as one person to like affect any real change, right? And I think it doesn't really help sometimes when you feel like, you know, you get really psyched about you know, a cause, and you go out and you do the things, you actually research and you vote, and then the vote doesn't go in your direction, right? And I think that can really make you sort of feel like what you're doing is not, it doesn't have a point, you know, like a little bit useless to go out there and stay involved and stay engaged. But one of my favorite quotes actually is, we overestimate what we can do in a day, but we underestimate what we can do over time.
Yeah.
And so it's not that like the first time you get out there, you know, for a cause that, you know, the world is just going to be altered, you know, suddenly. But it is that if you keep getting out there and you keep talking to people and you keep, you know, getting involved and you keep voting, that you can make some sort of change happen.
Oh, for sure. I feel like right now that you said that, I think that we're so, and I say we, I don't know if it's, but us, the young generations, like when we do something, we want to see change right away. Like
Yes.
it's even like with working out, talking about boxing. Like we work out and we're like, why am I not seeing
Yep.
results the second day?
I just saw Creed and I'm like, I should be able to do a boxing montage and just have Michael B. Jordan's abs in an hour.
And it's like, no, there's a lot of work and hard dedication to everything.
There is.
And that goes with politics. That's something that I'm definitely learning. And I've learned through U-Turn. It's like, you know, you can't change everything, but
Right
you
away.
could make a change.
Yes, you can.
And we interviewed Bob Cable from the it's the Upland Airport. Ontario.
Yeah, he owns
Is it
an
Ontario?
airport,
Yeah, is it Ontario?
or I think it's Upland.
Upland,
It
yeah,
is
no, it's Upland. So he said something, and I don't know why, since we interviewed him, he said one person can change the world. He did say that. And it's like, yeah, you can, but
Yeah.
it's just a lot of discipline, a lot of work. And
It might take your whole life. It might take
and
your
you just
whole
have to
life.
keep going. And that's what you were talking about before, that you were saying before the break, that you have more time when you were in college to get involved in these different politics, these
Yeah.
different issues,
For sure.
bringing awareness. And I think this is so real what you said. It's like, if I have to pick from going and learning a ballot to like going and doing something different, like
Making sure that
Like-
I eat, or like studying for this class even, you know, so that I can.
or let's just say like going to work because you got bills
Yes.
to pay, as
That's the real one. That's the real one.
For sure.
Yeah, I think so. On a personal level, I've been a caregiver since I was like 19 years old. So when I was 19 going on 20, my mom had a stroke that left her paralyzed on one side of her body, and I had to drop out of school essentially to help take care of the family. And my grandmother is a little bit older, like she's getting up in age now, and my brother is an athlete, so he gets hurt, and he actually just had like a knee surgery, and like earlier in the year a shoulder surgery. And so, you know, a lot is on my plate, just, you know, family wise, and thinking about the difference between, taking the time to get my grandmother to that doctor's appointment and get her pharmacy drugs that she needs, her prescription drugs that she needs, or going to a meeting at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, to sit in and fight for FP5.
Right.
I'm definitely going to choose, making sure that my family is okay. And so I think some of it has to do with accessibility. Why is it that the most important meeting that you could have in your county is held on a Tuesday at 10 a.m.?
Right. And that's something that we always talk about. It is so crazy how time just ran out. I think you say FP5 and it's time for you guys to go. But we're going to get to the real stuff. Thank you so much for spending this time with me and sharing your information, your story.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Really talk about, what we've learned, how we grew, and why it's important to go and vote.
Yes.
Through our experiences.
Yeah.
So that was U-Turn. For more U-Turn, go to uturnradio.com. And I am out of here.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
Your NBC Sports Radio update starts now.
Busy day in the NFL. I'm Jeff Nathanson. Let's look at the scoreboard right now. These are third quarter scores. The Patriots leading the Vikings, but only